Hello, my name is Alan, and tonight I'm facilitating a session of my PBTA game of Dark Age Monster Hunters, Eotenweard. This is a game set some 200 years after Rome left, so it's the start of the 600s CE. It is a time when this country is going through a period of change. Scholarship varies. Some people prefer the idea that Saxons, Angles, and Jutes arrived on the east coast of Britannia and instituted a series of campaigns that amounted to ethnic cleansing. More recent scholarship suggests that this was largely about replacing one warrior elite with another warrior elite, and most commoners were just assimilated into Saxon culture. So that's my preferred view of this. We will find that most of the nobility in the part of England that we're going to be playing in will be Saxons. I use Saxons as a catch-all for Angles and Jutes as well. I can't be doing with the differences. And yet many of the common people will be Britons assimilated by that. This is a game that is, I suppose, principally about groups of heroes seeking to protect commoners from the supernatural. In this setting, I suggest that the supernatural nature of Britannia was to a large extent suppressed by Rome. When they left, the supernatural began to stretch its legs and flex its muscles, and groups of like-minded individuals come together to protect people from this. They are the Eotenweard, the guardians against the monsters. There are two basic cultures in this game. There are Christian Britons and there are pagan Saxons. The characters today are a range of those. There are some from outside the British Isles, and I think we've got one of those as well. So that's the intro for the game. I'm running this as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly online game calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then I would suggest you look us up at Gauntlet-RPG. Any good search engine will find us, and you will find a fabulous community of people playing, it must be said, mostly story games, narrative games, indie games, but increasingly a range of other games. I think we have some Star Trek Adventures running at the moment, and games that are in that Tredindle place. So I think someone's been running a bit of Vaesen, the new game from Free League, recently. We also have a series of podcasts, one of whose presenters is with us tonight. And we have a Patreon. So if you like what you see and you would like to support what we do, we'd love to have you sign up to the Patreon. You will also get regularly a copy of our in-house, used to be called a zine. Frankly, when it begins to crest 60, 70, 80 pages, I tend to think that Codex is now a magazine at least. And that comes up very regularly. We're also now the publisher of several games. I would be remiss of me not to talk about Hearts of Ulin, because we have the author present. And also Trophy and Trophy Gold are both after successful Kickstarters, one about to arrive, I think, and the other one not far away. And Brindlewood Bay. If you haven't come across Brindlewood Bay yet, I would suggest you look it up on Drive-Thru or join the Patreon and find out more of it there. The other thing, I suppose, is the range of podcasts. As I say, we have the Gauntlet podcast, we have Plus One Forward, we have the Trophy podcast, Fear of Black Dragon, a range of podcasts touching on aspects of the games we play and games related to the games we play. So with all that said, let me just get on to a little bit more about this session. This is the first of 4 sessions. We have a 4th player who will join us in session 2. His real life interfered today, and that's not a problem. In this game, we are going to explore reports that have been received of something or someone terrorizing the villages in the Great Mire, the Great Fenland of the east of England. And the question is, how will our band of intrepid guardians against the monsters, the Eotenweard. How will they face this, identify it, and save people from it? The tone of this game, it's set in a dark age where the supernatural is a fact of life, and life is pretty cheap. The game is intended to be rich in darkness and foreboding. Quite how dark will depend on how the players approach the game, but it is quite possible that we will drift into adult and horror themes. And for that reason, we'll be using a set of safety tools, as all games at the Gauntlet table use. So principally, we'll be using the X card. Now, I will say to the players that the easiest way to X card, because I tend not to focus much on the chat, the simplest way is to make the X. If you do play the X card, I'll stop play. I won't ask you why you've played the X card, but I might ask you how far back you'd like me to rewind the narrative. So hopefully we can play forward and avoid anything in the narrative that triggered that X card. If you prefer to put it in the chat, do so. Other players, if I don't seem to respond to something in the chat, please bring it to my attention. By making the X card yourself, if that's the best way to do it. We're also playing with an open door, which means that life goes on behind us. And indeed, if this turns out not to be the game that you thought it was and it doesn't suit you, please don't feel you have to suffer at the table. You can always walk away. If something does happen in the real world that takes you away from the table, then we hope you'll come back. But we'll carry on playing, hoping you come back. If you can let us know if you're not coming back, then that would be nice. We're also playing with lines and veils, and the players, I will point them at the lines and veils tab. I think that is up to date with my starting lines and veils, but I'll run through those when everyone's had a chance to look at it and add anything to it before we start play proper. Finally, we're playing with the Gauntlet Code of Conduct, within the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. I have to say, it's a great document. You'll find access to it through our website. No need to pay for the Patreon. And increasingly, I use its principles in all my online games, which of course, all my games are online these days. But I imagine carrying that through to face-to-face if and when we ever get back to it. So that's the setup. I will say to the players, just add any ticks to the lines and veils tab, and I'll come back to that. But now might be the time to simply ask the players to introduce themselves and just say something briefly about the character they're playing. I will tend to go in character keeper order. So Paul, can I start with you? Say hello and tell us about Black Russel.
Hello. I'm Paul, he, him, and I am playing the character Black Russel. He is an outlaw. Basically, he was an assassin of a lord who is now being cast aside and wanders the countryside, hoping to redeem himself in various ways. And yeah, that's Black Russel. You're muted, Alan.
It wouldn't be me if I wasn't. Lowell, say hello and tell us something about this pagan mystic.
So, hi, my name is Lowell, and I picked out the name Cunobacha. That's the way I'm going to say it. And I'm playing the pagan mystic, and I picture this as a character male, but somewhat ambiguous in his appearance. I'm picturing a person who was sickly growing up, and it was through sort of the pagan mysticism that he was able to grow some strength and survive where he should have passed on, and that there has managed to make his way through, but I imagine fairly young for a mystic, fairly young for a person who's supposed to be giving wisdom. And the choice of talents are a little more aggressive than perhaps an older mystic might lean towards.
That's great, thank you. And finally, Bodhi, say hello and tell us something about our Sword of God.
Hi, I'm Bodhi, pronounced they, them, and I'm playing Icenius, a Frankish member of the of an order dedicated to Saint Michael, the commander of heaven, so appropriate for a defender against monsters. And he's imagining him as young, strong, competent, but oh my, does he know he's competent? Perhaps a little too much sometimes.
Well, when you're the sword of God, you could come to that conclusion relatively easily, couldn't you? Okay. I've got some questions for you, I think. If I start, let me just hide our Monster Hunter for a while. So, Black Russell, hard-eyed Briton dressed in now faded and torn finery. Now that suggests, now are you saying that you did well killing people for a lord? Or are you in fact of noble extraction? Are you from a landowning class?
No, not at all. Basically, the Lord, he liked my work and rewarded me generously.
Okay. And one of the questions that the playbook for the Outlaw asks is who your nemesis is. And it suggests a famous or infamous lord. It suggests a criminal rival or betrayed accomplice, a priest or a mystic, or something else. So what are you imagining?
It would be a rival lord.
Oh, a rival to the one you served?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll find somewhere down around 48, I think, on the character keeper, you'll find a place for you to tell us something about this lord and what they want to do to you. What for them would be a successful outcome?
I think it would be my death.
A simple death?
No, I think they want to recover me for so-called justice, which will probably be my death. I have murdered multiple members of his family, and because my crimes were so heinous, that's why my employer let me go. He really couldn't be publicly associated with my crimes.
Oh, so this was a circumstance where you had a fairly narrow job to do, but on your own initiative, you broadened the scope?
Yes, I think that would sum it up quite well. Yes. I think privately, he's quite pleased, but publicly, it was an act gone too far, so he needed to disavow me as if it was my own actions.
And in terms of the victims of this bloodshed, is the Lord the target you actually failed to hit, or is it that Lord's successor?
No, it was the Lord. I failed to hit the Lord, but I hit his family instead.
Okay. Now,
his first wife.
Okay. In your own time, it would be nice to give him a name. So the reference materials have got a list of, inverted commas, appropriate period names. Pick one that works for you. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's now move on to Cunobacha, our pagan mystic, our surprisingly young, but yes, I look at the choice of moves, dangerous pagan mystic. One of the things in the playbook that it asks about Cunobacha is what permanent burden is he carrying? Now, in this game, there are a range of temptations that you can give into for certain mechanical costs and advantages. A burden is one of those temptations that is constantly in play, unless you sacrifice something to your gods in order to buy off that burden. So, Cunobacha, have you thought about your choice of burden?
Yes, my burden is wrath.
You don't say with that choice of moves. Okay. So, yeah. So you are bad-tempered and prone to violence. Now that's interesting, because one of the questions that your playbook book asks on the second side of the Pagan Mystic one is you begin owing your gods a debt. And the question is, what terrible thing did you refuse to do?
I think that the person who taught me and mentored me had a strange conversion experience and converted over to the church. And I think the gods told me to kill him. And I could not bring myself to do that.
Wow. No wonder they are angry. I'm curious, do you know where this mentor is?
Yeah, I think he's probably at, I know that there are some monasteries at this point, and I suspect there is a monastery that he has gone to, and I know which one he is at.
Okay. Now, so far, the only monastery this setting has developed in play is the Abbey of St. Anselm, which is some way away from where you're going to be spending time during these sessions. I'm very happy for you to invent an abbey in the vicinity of where play will proceed, if that suits you.
Sure.
But don't bother to do it now. We can do it whenever.
I imagine something very small. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a cluster of huts somewhere. Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, I think that helps me. I've just remembered there is a question there is a point I need to make about the outlaw. Black Russell, you begin owing your nemesis a debt, because for all that you may be blasé about it, God isn't. And so you begin owing that nemesis a debt. Let's talk about Icenius, our Frank, a Christian Frank from over the seas. For people of this time, just about all of northern Western Europe is Frankish. So we needn't know where you are, where you're from, unless you want to tell us. So this is a Frankish sort of god. And there is a question on your playbook about your relationship with your god. And it is, you begin owing the one true God, in your view, a debt. What terrible thing did you refuse to do?
Well, it's quite interesting, because my answer almost exactly mirrors Lowell's and Cunobacha's, but from the other side. I suppose it's one of the one of the kind of ones it leads you to. So it's I secretly refused to kill a former brother of my order.
Okay.
They had been in the view of the leader of my chapter of the order, the abbot, I suppose, but at the view of the abbot, they had been taken and corrupted by the devil and were beyond redemption, and accept the final redemption. And I was tasked with administering that final redemption, and I couldn't. At the end, once I tracked this former brother who had grown up in the order with, I couldn't bring myself to kill him. And
why?
I think I see it as a wavering of my faith, my earthly bonds to him as a brother who I'd known for many years since we were both children, kind of it superseded my bond of faith in that moment.
Okay. It wasn't that he might have killed you.
He was running.
Okay.
He was running, and I had, I think it was a chase on horseback, and one more burst of speed, I'd have had him pinned down. But I brought my horse up short.
Okay. Is that why you're here and not in Francia?
I think so, but that's because that's my choice to be here. I've taken a kind of a posting as a missionary warrior, as a dangerous post with hardships away from my fellows, as a sort of self-imposed penance, and also more practically an acknowledgement that I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to keep this secret if I'm around other members of my order.
Okay. Right, that's helpful. Let me go back the other way then, and let's talk about the relationships between you. The setting assumption is that you are familiar with one another, you are at least content to spend time with one another, you at least have some level of trust in one another for a variety of reasons. And I want to explore those reasons. On the reverse of your playbooks, you'll find a set of debts of honor. And the way I normally do this is I will ask each of you to put a debt on the table that you would like to have in play, and then ask if any of the other players want to pick it up for their character. So let me go back round and start with Black Russel. Is there one of the debts on the back of the Outlaw playbook that Black Russel would like to have in play?
Let's go with somebody knows my crimes. Agree, the worst thing they saw you do, I owe them. Okay.
Is there anybody else who wants to pick that up?
I think I'd like to do that because I've got one that I kind of fit on the reverse and why I might know that. So yeah, I'd like to take that one.
By the way, don't feel obliged to mirror debts back and forth. As long as there's a decent network of debts between you, everyone doesn't have to owe everyone a debt necessarily. But fine. So Cunobacha knows your crimes. What was the worst thing that you saw Black Russel do, Cunobacha?
I imagine sort of use me, worst thing from my point of view, use me as a means to get into someplace because I knew them to complete a task.
Oh, is there any possibility that was on your final job, Russell?
Yeah, I think that sounds very good.
Yeah. Okay. So both of you need to make some kind of note of that. On the outlaw sheet, that will show as a you owe them -1, and on the pagan mystic sheet, that will show as a they owe you +1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we can explore how those get spent later on. I'll just give you a minute to put those in. Right, let me move along then to our pagan mystic. Is there one of those debts that Cunobacha would like to have in play?
I think that it makes sense that we're actually related, that we're like cousins, something like that. That's one of the, does that sound reasonable to you, Russell, to explain why you're able to take advantage of that relationship?
Yeah, I definitely think that would be an easy way how I got you to do the task. And clearly there may be some resentment, as I am indeed a Christian, although not a particularly heavily practicing Christian,
Right.
and you are still a pagan.
Wait till
Absolutely.
God gets a hold on you, Russell, and we'll determine how resilient you are under the stern look of a bearded god. Fine. So that's fine. It says something about how closely are you related. So I'd be interested to know, how closely?
Cousins, I think we said.
Cousins.
Yeah,
You do.
I think cousins works. That from the extended family, and sort of I knew them early on, and then when everything went terribly wrong, probably got caught up with what the fallout of that.
Okay. I wonder if Godfred of Len might actually settle for Cunobacha as a. Just curious. Let's find out. Okay. Icenius, is there a debt that you would like to have in play?
Yes, and I know which one it is because Icenius is going to need a pretty good reason to be hanging out with this this outlaw and this godless pagan.
That is some kind of missionary work.
One of you is described in a prophecy associated with my order. If you want that, and agree what it says, and I owe them.
Who wants to pick that one up, if anyone? Obviously, if nobody picks it up, then we go back to Icenius and say if there's another one that you prefer. But
I wouldn't mind taking that, especially if the prophecy involves my eventual conversion, and that I assume you're talking about my master in this, and that you've got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that works. I think that I've identified you as a prophesized kind of vessel of Saint Michael, and yeah, you think I've got it wrong, but I am convinced, as in all things, of my rightness in this.
Okay. Well, if Icenius, you can put something on your sheet to that effect, that would be great. And you owe them. Okay, let's go back round and do another round just to see if we can just work out a couple of other connections. Back we go to our outlaw Russell. Is there another one you'd like to have in play?
Are we not better waiting for Powell?
I thought about that. I'm going to ask you if there's one you want to put in play now, but I'm not going to force your hand. We'll do another bit of this when our fourth player arrives.
Oh, okay, so we'll have a lot in play. Let me have a quick look at the sheet.
I mean, if there's one there that you're keen on, but you'd prefer to hold back on it till our monster hunter arrives next time.
This clearly. Somebody was saved by my actions, but still you owe them a debt. Agree why, and owe them.
Is Icenius interested in picking that up?
Yeah, I think I am. So I was saved, but still you owe me.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a bit weird, but yes.
But why is that? Because that seems counterintuitive. Maybe you saved him from something terrible.
I'm wondering if I had the opportunity and the duty officially to turn you in, and I didn't because you saved me, but that's kind of always hanging over that I could have turned you in, and
sounds good.
It's
what
you would expect.
Okay. And moving along, is there another one that Cunobacha the Pagan Mystic would like to have in play now, or do you want to reserve it for another time?
I'm actually going to reserve, I think,
Okay.
on that.
That allows me to get swiftly to Icenius again. Is there another one you want to have in play with these two characters, or do you want to hang on and see how our relationships to the Monster Hunter arriving next time?
I think I might hang on because I already have a link to both, so it seems quite neat.
Fine. Okay. There is one other thing that I'm curious about. On the keeper, it puts this slightly differently on the playbook because the keeper and the playbook never quite catch up with one another. I'll be honest with you. But Cunobacha, on the keeper, it says, "Remind us of the last time your burden caused a problem."
I think it was that we were, in a place to help people with some kind of monster in the area, and someone upset me amongst the locals, and like they were being cruel to a dog or something that got to me, and before we could kind of get the lay of the land and figure out what we needed to do, I had already created a rift by essentially striking them and creating hostilities.
Nothing like a little bit of violence to alter the chemistry in any village. Okay, thank you. Now, I just want to review our lines and veils. I think you've all had a chance to add to them. So as I see it, we are playing with lines, stuff that we will not have in the fiction, on sexual assault and violence or violence. Cannibalism is a positive. Torture, the death, endangerment of children, and animal abuse, and stuff to do with teeth. Are we okay with moors and bears bearing teeth? Is that it's
damage to teeth, that kind of thing.
Fine. Now
Rich got me with a game where the teeth were currency and it freaked me out, and so those kinds of things.
Okay, not a problem. And currently we have veils on torture by the PCs. Well, we've lined torture full stop. So I'm going to line torture by the PCs, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just for consistency. A veil on domestic violence, a veil on consensual sex. Anyone who watches these videos of mine will know that that's always there because I'm old and British. And an ask first on suicide, either by a player character or a non-player character. I'm imagining something subtly different between heroic sacrifice and suicide, but we'll explore that if we get close to it. Okay, thank you for that. On that same page of the character keeper, there is a link to the role for your party. So I'd invite you to open that up now. We are playing in Willingly Helping Horse. I must check, did Icenius choose a barded? You did choose a barded warhorse.
Yes.
Wow.
A warhorse named, let me get this
Mitis.
right. Mitis, which means gentle, which is, I thought was a good name for warhorse.
There's a problem with the difference between the character keeper and the playbooks.
Go on.
Mine, it says pick, you've got a knife and pick one. The character sheet says pick two.
Oh, pick two. I'll alter that on the keeper. Thank you. Okay. And the final point is the remaining move, which is the soul move. This is a minor miracle, or in the case of the Pagan Mystic, often quite major miracles. But both the Outlaw and the Sword of God need to select a soul move. It can't be the same one. So let me go first to Icenius. Is there a soul move that you have your eye on?
Well, I forgot to read through them, so at the moment, no. But maybe maybe head to...
Let me go to Black Russell.
Black Russell.
Because I think, Paul, you've played this game a couple of times, so you may be more familiar with them. Is there one you have your eye on?
I was, of course, muted. I will go with Boundless Vitality, please.
Okay, Boundless Vitality it is. Well, that reduces the choice for Icenius. And for our thousands of viewers, the Pagan Mystic defaults to, they have to have a soul move called Use Power.
I think I will go with Blessed by God.
Go with that, because clearly you think you are. You know better than the Grand Master of your order, at least. Yeah, okay. Then I think we're ready to set our first scene. I imagine that you have heard that the Earl of Synhamm is concerned by some of those that owe him tribute not paying up. The word of this came to you via the Monster Hunter character, who is part of this group of Eotenweard. And he has told you that he has to go and do something else first, and that he will meet you at Synhamm. So what I'd like to suggest is that you are in a Saxon village somewhere near modern-day Doncaster. In your time, it is Danum. Danum is the center of some activity currently. A man who, the Lord of Danum, who claims the Roman name prefect, is recruiting left, right, and center for what he believes is going to be a holy crusade. So let us place you passing through Danum. What do we first see of our outlaw, Russell?
I think so. We're coming into this village, yeah?
Yeah, it's a sizable settlement of perhaps, 60, 70 households.
Okay, well, based on the geographical location, this is quite a far distance from Len. So, yeah, I think I'll be sort of very slowly sort of walking at the town with quite a swagger. Yeah, I don't think I'm at all fearing anything in this town, and I consider myself pretty tasty. So, yeah, just to sort of meander and swagger into town, checking out the ladies, that sort of thing.
Okay. Making no effort to hide your appearance, for instance?
No.
Okay.
I'm reasonably far north here. I don't think.
What about Cunobacha? What do we first see of Cunobacha in our opening scene as we perhaps scan down from a wooden watchtower to a gate in the stockade that surrounds the settlement of Danum?
I think if Russell is swaggering and exposing, and that the Cunobacha is the sort of the opposite, hood up, mad at himself for what happened at that last village, and still just his anger is turned inward now, and is kind of trying to deal with the being a little bit ashamed of that.
Okay, and what is our first sight of Icenius? The only person riding or leading his warhorse?
Riding, perhaps leading earlier on in the day, but before he came into sight in Danum, most definitely riding and trying to kind of cut as imposing a presence as possible, kind of ramrod straight in the saddle, kind of blazon on his shield, an emblem of St. Michael, kind of very definitely kind of aimed towards people that might see.
And I think that it is probably that attracts the attention of the warriors standing around the gate of Danum, and one of them calls up to you, "Lord, have you come to join us?"
regretfully not at this time, though I recognize the value in your campaign. I have other holy duties that detain me at the moment.
This might be the appropriate trigger for your start of session move, which is his servant. At the beginning of each session, roll plus subtle, and let us see whether God agrees.
So I am very unsubtle, so I'm rolling with -1. And let me get a couple of dice together. So that is 10 minus 1, 9. Oh, you muted.
So on 7 plus, a vision provides you with some hint of what is to come, and you hold one to look about you later in the session. Okay. So make a note of that, please, because I will forget. And I think that you see the man addressing you on the ground with a spear in his gut. Yeah? Any more than that, you can interpret when you cash in that look about you. Yeah? And they're also looking at Black Russel, I think, and eyeing him up because he's swaggering. This is clearly a potential warrior. And one of them will call, "What about you, friend?"
Oh no, I'm way too past it. Plus, I don't like really seeing fools go to their slaughter. That's not my style.
What do you mean by that?
I think this is an ill thought out campaign.
Well, who are you to say that? The prefect and his advisors, they're gathering people from all over the country.
Oh, if you want to find out who I am, step outside and you'll find out.
Is this an attempt to intimidate these people? What is your intention here?
Yeah, I think to sort of cow them.
And are you trying to trigger the move called Thug when you convince someone with threats of violence, ...
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so you'll find on the move sheet, convince someone. So normally it would be plus subtle. You roll plus savage. Let's see what reaction you get at the gate of Danum.
Not a particularly good one. 4, 6.
6 on a 6, right?
Or mark XP.
Indeed, mark XP on a failure. And the other thing that will remind me to say is you will find near the XP track a set of boxes to tick for those flags, keys, other things that will trigger end of session experience. So keep an eye on those in terms of what you think you're doing. And one of them says, "Well, I might not, but he might," pointing back to a very large Saxon. You Britons coming in here, flashing off your mouth.
True, but I'm sure we can sort this out over a drink in the inn, can't we?
We certainly can, he says. He walks up to you and aims to thump you. Is your objective here to harm him? Or are you looking to just some other outcome that doesn't involve bloodshed?
I just want to sort of cow him so he, he's like, all right, come in.
And so he's going to hit you unless you do something about it. What do we see you doing?
I'll I don't think now's the time to start open warfare.
You could use face danger if that's a
I just like to face him down, really. I don't want to start a sort of a fight a gate, even though I think I could be rather good at it.
Okay, I mean, you've kind of failed to face him down. That was what the convince was about.
I think. So, face down, I can't really see what I'm going to face.
Subdue him? Run from him?
No, run's not my style at all. Yeah, let's put him down then.
Okay, so so you're going to roll to face this danger, this obstacle, with savagery, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let us
escalate it.
see. Obviously, if you fail, then that punch landed.
Of course. Oh, 7 in total.
Oh, you are really flirting here.
I am. That was nearly came up double 1 there.
7 to 9, the GM gives you a worse outcome, a hard choice, or a price to pay. You don't successfully wrestle him to the ground. In fact, it looks like he could win unless you can buy him off with something or by doing something. What do you think you could do to stop him actually hurting you?
I'm going to say to him, sort of whisper in his ear as he's got me on the ground. Do you really want to do this in front of that Frankish lord? Do you know what your lord will do to you? I'm one of his men.
And he as he's pressing down on your throat, he'll kind of say, "You're not worth it." But I think the cost of this is that were they to find you alone in a discreet location, they might well come after you. That is the sense you take away from this. Yeah.
Yeah.
This has happened.
Put that down as a debt.
No, I don't think so. Not at this point. I don't think it's big enough for that. We'll see how the play goes. If you don't find yourself in that situation, it's not a problem. But if you do go out at night, just be careful. Are you here, Cunobacha, just to kind of get a night's rest and resupply before you set off to Synhamm, or is there more to it than that, do you think?
I think that the plan had been to maybe catch some for the three of us to catch some rest here, but I have the strong feeling that plan is now gone to the wind, and my brain is sort of feverishly thinking of, okay, how far do we have to walk? What is the camping going to be like? I'm really glad that he let go of Russell, because I would have had to have stepped in if it had gotten worse, and did not want to do that. I also didn't want this Frankish sort of god go running through the town, bringing whatever tragedy would come from that. So I'm very much sort of standing at the side, like, okay, which way is this going? Where are we heading here? I'm looking to my Frankish compatriot and my cousin to see what they're going to do.
Okay. Certainly, it's very clear that no one's particularly interested in you. But I am curious what, if anything, our Frankish lord has to say about this. Because you hear Russell kind of taking your name in his defense.
I don't think I'm particularly pleased to being always dragged into kind of gutter politics by Russell. So I think at the point at which this was all going down, I was pulling the I don't even know these people act, kind of very kind of staring off into the middle distance on my horse. And I think that now that Russell has said that he's one of my men, his conduct now, at least in the eyes of the people around me, reflects on me. So I'm just thinking, well, I'm going to treat him as if he's one of my men, and I kind of put on my haughtiest voice and bark at him to stop picking fights with the locals and attend to my horse.
Russell?
Oh, certainly, my lord. I'll attend to your horse. Don't worry about that. Get down from it. I'll make sure it's well looked after.
There is in this settlement a church. It shows signs of having been significantly damaged by fire some little time ago, but having been patched and rebuilt around that fire damage in the more recent past. And there's also in the center of the settlement the large hall of the local lord, this so-called prefect. Where do you head? It sounds like Russell is heading to a local stable just to make sure that the horse can be fed and looked after. Is that true? Yeah.
I will say, are we staying here tonight after we've made a scene?
Oh, I'm sure you'll be fine, Cunobacha. I don't think they even took any notice of you. You'll be safe enough.
I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about the village and the numbers game that is afoot here. So, just thought I would bring that up. But
There does seem to be quite a few of them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'll turn to Icenius. Icenius,
I say that Russell's made his own bed. Let him lie in it.
Well, how close to him are you sleeping then? Is my question. Because my lord, we are in a village of people that may not take as kindly to your heritage here, but you may be braver and more gifted with the power of God and touched by the Spirit, and maybe not worried about such things.
Oh, I'm not going to run and camp out in the woods like a common criminal, looking pointedly at Russell. I want a comfortable night's sleep before we have to take to the road.
Fair enough, and I'm sure we will have a perfectly sound sleep here.
With that in mind, Icenius, someone of your station could quite legitimately call on the hospitality of a local lord. Is that your intention?
I believe it is, because despite I might not do it kind of all the time, but I think it's running through my head that despite my bravado, I think Lord's Hall might provide some protection here.
So is the hall your first stop or the church?
I think it's important to me that my piety, which is genuine, but it also needs to be visible. So I think my first stop is the church.
That may answer the question I was about to ask Cunobacha, which is whether you head off to the stable with Russell or the church with Icenius.
That would be the stable.
Okay. So in the stable, there's a kind of slightly broken-backed old Briton who is running the stable on behalf of the Lord, and he kind of looked at you and he said, what can I do for you? Oh, you're muted, Paul.
I don't think it's what you can do for us, it's what you can do for this horse.
Oh, so stabling is what you're wanting then?
Indeed, for my lord's horse.
Oh, very good. You have travelled. I heard a whisper that a lord had arrived. Are you part of the army he will bring to join us in our crusade?
Well, that's not my business. That's my lord's.
Cunobacha, what do you?
I say, I'm just here to keep an eye on the horse in the stables.
Now, is there anything about you that says, inverted commas, pagan mystic?
I think very much so.
So fetishes, something like that. What are we?
I imagine there is. I've said that that I have, like, and they're not buttons, but essentially like bone dots, kind of sewn onto the edge of the clothing. I imagine that the staff that I have is marked in particular ways. the scarring I have isn't ritual. It's just, wear and tear. But I imagine that there's some other bits and decorations on me. And I'm trying to keep I'm not swinging feathers about or anything. I'm trying to be at least a little bit cagey.
No bone rattles or stuff like that. So, but I think he will spot the fact that you are a worshipper or look like a worshipper of the old gods, those pre-Christian, pre-Roman gods that once ruled this country. And so he will invariably, in this circumstance, someone like him would make the sign of the cross and just keep their eyes averted, because to look at you is to risk you taking their soul for who knows what purposes. Because this is a time when even those who profess Christian belief are savvy enough to know that the old gods may still have power in the land. So you're used to this. It's one of the things that makes you angry, to be honest. That here are you doing good for the world, and yet they still treat you like something of an outcast. Yeah? So his conversation is mostly with Russel. And is there any conversation, or is it a simple transaction, Russel?
I will turn to Cunobacha and say, are you okay with that slight against you there, Cunobacha? Do you want to let it ride? Or do you want me to do something about it?
Oh, and the old man will say, oh, no offense intended, no offense intended. Please do not curse me.
No, it's all right if he questions our Lord's judgment of the people that he brings with him. I'm sure that his own Lord would not be too cross with him for being impolite to guests.
As I say, there is no offense intended at all, sir, my lord.
Then bring me a stool and a blanket, and I will sit here and I will leave you alone, good sir.
Here. Very good. And
You heard the man.
He will get you a horse blanket and point to an upside down wooden pail for you to sit quietly. Let us cut to church, where there appears to be quite a worthy group at worship. And there are certainly two very well presented individuals at prayer and a group of what look like they're hangers-on. What's your response to this sight, Icenius?
I think you see me take a careful note of who's there, but I choose the opposite aisle of the church, but close enough to where they're praying that I will be seen, and I kneel to pray myself.
I think I won't make you roll for this. I think that one of them is clearly extolling the virtues of Christianity to the other. And one of them says, Lord Godric, you cannot imagine how important it is to have someone travel so far to join our crusade. And while you know that here at Danum, as its prefect, I welcome all those of any religion, be you Saxon or Christian, you are welcome to join us in this great crusade. But do you not feel anything of the value of God as we stand in this holy place before the cross of our Lord? That's the general gist of the conversation. And a slightly surlier Saxon says, yes, it's very interesting. Is this a point as they leave where you introduce yourself to the prefect of Danum, or do you wait for him to enter into his hall?
I think I do. I think I stand as they stand to leave, and I say something to the effect of "Well met, prefect."
And he looks at you and says, "Do I know you, sir?"
I am I'm a brother of Saint Michael. I have come to spread the word of our Lord and defend the innocent from evil. And but I can see that I don't have much work left to do here. I can see that you are taking on the good work yourself, which gratifies me.
And he puts a meaty hand on your shoulder and says, "You are most welcome. Come, join me in my hall that we may talk strategy. To have you among us as we face our first challenge is remarkable."
And
seems to expect you to come with him to the hall with Lord Godric.
I think that I will follow him to the hall, but I can sense that deceiving this man is not a good idea. So I say that I'm afraid that you're mistaken.
Oh, I won't hear of it. Come. And I think that's where we'll cut for our first commercial break. We are just 3 minutes past the hour. Can I suggest we're back in our seats at 10 past the hour? Is that long enough?
Yep.
Okay, see you at 10 past the hour. And we're back from our break. So now I just want to check. I was just skimming the character keeper. Black Russell, you've embellished a little bit of the relationship with Icenius. I saved his life, but he was hunting me for Godfred of Lun, as I saved him. He did not hand me in. So does that imply, Icenius, that you have met Lord Godfred of Lun, or that there was a general wanted message came out about this outlaw and you just took it upon yourself to bring him to justice? Because if you have met Lord Godfred of Lun, you will recognize that second man in the church.
I think it's more interesting if I have met Lord Godfred. No,
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And so he will look at you, and you can see he's trying to work out how he knows you. But you are so unusually dressed, in as much as, you know, the robes of your order and the shield emblazoned with the sign of St. Michael, that he can't but recognize you. And he says, "I know you. Didn't you say that you would bring a murderer to justice for me?" And I'm going to put this in the hall, I think, that you have got to the hall. Before you answer that, let us cut back to the stable. Now, Cunobacha, you implied that you were prepared to lie low in the stable for some time. Was I interpreting that correctly? Oh, you are muted.
Essentially, I don't particularly want to go to the church or go to the Lord's house. I don't want to go to a tavern here, but I also don't want to go and sit out in the woods by myself. So staying here it has a roof over my head. I can gnaw on the bread and cheese and wait until I hear the sounds of screaming that sometimes accompany my compatriots' interactions with the locals.
Okay.
Or me. Let's admit it, or I also cause that from time to time too.
So right, that's fine.
I guess I will say to Russell, what are you going to do?
I have a cunning plan, my friend. It involves distraction and surprise. But first, I think a quantity of mead is in order. So I shall fetch you some mead, as you are a good friend of mine. You can stay here with a horse. I shall go to the tavern and return with some mead.
And so you will seek out the local alewife.
First, I shall prepare a sleeping Russell in basically the first horse box that you would see when you came through the door. I want to sort of put in place a sleeping me. Now, would it be okay to say that there is a hayloft in here.
Mm.
Yes.
No, I'm very happy to have a hayloft. Yeah.
I would suggest to Cunobacha that the hayloft may be a better place for us to stay. It will offer us a more defensible position if it comes to that.
Agreed.
You are free to
Agreed.
choose wherever you want to sleep. That's just my suggestion.
No. I will sleep and keep an eye on your simulacrum that you're going to place in the box there.
Excellent.
Do you do this in the sight of the old man? No, I didn't think so. Okay. So you're going to find the alewife who brews ale or one of the alewives who brews ale for this settlement, and bring back a jug of ale or a jug of mead.
Yes.
Yeah. And otherwise, you're planning to stay in the stable. Am I right?
Yes, but if I'm followed, that's okay.
Okay. So we'll work out if you were followed and if your simulacra is convincing at a point when it matters. So until then, I have you both in the stable in the hayloft with a jug of mead or ale shared between you. And so we can then go back to the Lord's Hall, where the prefect is serving some food and some ale of his own from the same alewife, conceivably. And as I left it, you said you bring a murderer back that I needed captured.
Lord Gottfried. Alas, the ways of the Lord are mysterious. I was not. I was regrettably not able to bring this murderer to justice.
And he turns to the prefect. He says, "You see, here is a man who claims enormous holiness and says that this God of yours is personally watching over him, and yet set a simple task that he claimed God would help him deliver. He failed miserably. This is why I don't see the point of worshipping this God. I prefer a God who does what they promise, and my gods never let me down." What's your reaction, Icenius?
I think I look Gottfried in the eye and say that perhaps you are unused to this notion, but I believe that that the one true God is beyond simple human understanding.
"That's rubbish," says Godfried. "Gods are absolutely understandable. You sacrifice to them and they give you gifts. You pass those gifts on to the people who serve you. Why do you seek any more explanation than that? You see," says to the prefect, "this is all just confusion."
And yet you are here to serve the purpose of the one true God as much as of your own.
And that's when the second part of your vision kicks in. The prefect holds an artifact of power. His dealing with Godfried means that that artifact of power does not belong here.
I'm assuming this is the dishonorable thing I am being asked to do.
Yes, you have to steal something from your host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The rules of hospitality are very clear. You leave your weapons at the door and you are safe. You take food and drink from someone and you are in their debt, and they are your host. So yes, you're being asked to be dishonorable in taking something that doesn't belong to you from your host. Because he's very welcoming. He's very pleased that you've come, because in the rest of the conversation you gather that they have discovered the person that they seek to confront is King Beda of Lindsey, who is a bad pagan. He's a bad Saxon. He's been recruiting the scum of the earth, outlaws and thieves and murderers to his banner. And news has come to Danum that there are a group of these on the edge of Danum's sphere of influence, ready to raid some of the villages that the prefect protects and who give him tribute. And this is perhaps the first skirmish in this war. And so Godfred has arrived, in the prefect's view, with just as much value as you. You have arrived at just the right time to confront these bandits and ravagers, and inflict a sharp defeat on King Beda. That appears to be the gist of his expectations. What are you thinking about that at this point?
I'm thinking that I cannot refuse what I view as a command of my god. So I will break, as I say, my god acts in mysterious ways. If my god is asking me to break the guest right, then I am compelled to do so. But I do recognize the justice of the prefect's actions, and I don't wish to harm him more than I must. So I will offer to pen a letter to my to the kind of stronghold of my order, and beseech them to send a company of men, basically.
You can see the open disappointment in the prefect's face, and a kind of smug assurance in Gottrig's that he's got you absolutely right. You're all talking trousers, you Christian knights. What was your expectation of Cunobacha and Russel, if any? You know that they've taken your horse off to the stable, but I was curious whether you had any expectation of them beyond that.
I would expect. I think I had a vague expectation that I'd see them back here, and I would arrange. With the Lord Steward, perhaps, to have them housed, but I'm not particularly surprised if they don't turn up again, because that is very much part of the course with them.
Well, part of the conversation is an apology from the prefect when he learns that some of his men were rough with one of your retainers, and they are, of course, welcome to the Lord's hospitality, as are you. So I suppose the question I'm asking is, do you go looking for them, or do you sit tight in the hope that they turn up?
I think I sit tight in the hope that they turn up. I don't see why I should be their minder.
Russel, what do you do when you notice some of the retainers that you know follow Lord Godric of Len wandering around the settlement? perhaps just returning from the same alewife where you got your jug of ale.
I will lay on a swagger similar to the one I had when I was coming to town. So I'm more than happy that they see me wandering back to the stable, and I will quietly chuckle to myself.
And you can see some of them giving you a double take, given that you've made no effort to hide your identity. Cunobacha, of course, is still unknown to them. Presumably, they might recognize Cunobacha as well because you were the means by which, yeah, exactly.
There is that.
There is that. And so they may have seen more of you even than they saw of the murderer himself. Do you share any of this with Cunobacha when you get back to the Halo?
Most definitely. I will say, cousin. I think there may be some incoming trouble.
For fuck's sake.
Did you just say Christ's sake? Yes,
No,
that's
no,
right. That's
no,
right.
no. I said for fuck's sake.
Oh, very well. I
That's
misunderstood.
That's a good Anglo-Saxon word.
I say, so did they see you?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they did, yes.
Oh, no.
And I think they will be here soon. But don't worry. I believe my distraction will work long enough for us to do something.
What is it that you propose that we do?
I'm
very, very adverse to, let's say, murdering them right now.
Murder would be very strong, and
yes.
I would not advocate that in this situation. But maybe we can toss some heavy object from a large height, as in a loft height, and maybe knock them out and rob them.
I don't think there's any need for us to compound the situation.
True, but if we can turn a profit...
Say, Russell, we are here passing the night. We have a task to take on in Synhamm. If we engage and rob these people, then we'll be more dedicated to running from them than we will be to actually dealing with the problem at hand.
True, but I always find a Hessian bag over their head could easily obfuscate the chances of them working out it was us. And a large heavy weight from this loft, like a bag of grain or some other loft-type item, should... I'm a dab hand at dispensing justice from a distance. So now, clearly, if it's too many of them, we will just stay hidden away, and we can always make our way through the roof or out the back. I take it the loft is reasonably sealed, apart from the way down.
There's a way down. There's a window built into the front of it. No glass.
There we go.
Obviously.
We've got a method of escape. If there's too many of them, I think it's a win-win.
That I would stress that overlooks the front of this thatched roof structure.
Well, let us see what their attitude is and what they do when they come in. I cannot say I'm particularly proud to be part of this plan, but it is a plan.
I will hand you a Hessian bag and say it is a good method of hiding your face. You may need it.
It is this point where you wonder whether you are working with a professional or not.
I go, that is not going to happen.
He's clearly not a second story man. This is a thug and killer that we're dealing with here. Let us cut back to the Lord's Hall, where several Saxons enter and interrupt Lord Godric's meal. And there's a whispered conversation. And Godric looks up and he looks at you and he says, there's a chance yet that you can prove that your empty previous promises are actually able to be fulfilled. My men say they have found that murderer. And with that, he gets up with the handful of men, leaves the hall, picking up his weapons on the way, and apologizes to the prefect. This is a matter of honor, Lord Prefect. I cannot ignore it.
And I think at this point, I don't have a. I'm torn here. I'm torn because I need to steal. My god has commanded me to steal this item, and I also need to warn Russell, who I owe a life debt to. I need to warn Russell and to get out of there.
Well, look, this might be an opportunity to simply illustrate the way the debt mechanic works. Even though you're not in the same room, Russell, you can leverage that debt to have Icenius make a decision to come to your aid or whatever, if you choose to.
Oh, I think I may have got the debt the wrong way round, because this was the debt that worked backwards.
Sorry.
Backwards too.
Does Russell owe you a debt, or do you owe Russell a debt? I've not looked.
Russell owes me a debt.
That's fine.
Got that the wrong way around.
You're home free. You don't. You're not pressured to do anything. So, do you leave the hall or not? There was a certain smug look as Godric looked back at you as he left the hall, thinking, "I knew he wouldn't."
I think I have to leave the hall. I think I do leave the hall.
Okay. And then my only following question is, do you leave and catch up with Godric, or do you try to find the stable by another route?
I try to find the stable by another route.
Okay. Let's see how that goes. I think this is subtle. Can you work out the geography swiftly, and where the stable is? So let's have you roll with subtle to see whether you get there before Godric.
I do not. That is a 5.
Okay, well then it's an academic. Cunobacha, the gods are presaging again. Then what do you do when either of you, when a body of armed men arrive at the front of the stable, and a voice you will recognize, I think, as Lord Godric, shouts up, "I know you're in there. I just want to talk."
Can I ascertain the numbers?
Yeah, there's Godric and a handful of his retainers. This will be presumably his best warriors. He wouldn't have come up here with.
Okay, so a handful. What we're talking?
5.
4.
Let's say 5.
Oh, so 6 people in total.
Yeah,
that's quite an outnumbering. So and they are armored and armed.
Oh yeah. Well, they're not necessarily fully armed for war, but they're all armed and carrying shields.
I will turn to Cunobacha and say, you may need to ask the help of your god in this situation.
Yeah, you know that plan.
Or we look for a hasty escape.
Do you stay or do you go?
The roof, the roofing, thatched. How difficult is it to disrupt that? I'm not sure.
It's dramatically essential, if that's the route you take, that you're able to do it. I think it's probably face danger with a bit of brute force.
Yeah, I say let us see if we can exit through the roof, or one of us does that and the other gets the horse and tries to ride through.
No, I think I don't think they'll touch Icenius's horse. That would be very disrespectful. So I'm more prepared that we leave the horse and do a hasty escape out the roof.
So Are both of you working on the thatch, or just one of you?
Oh, no, you know, there's we're all equal among thieves.
So there's no effort. There's no effort to kind of keep Godric talking.
I think you should converse with your good friend.
No, that will let him 100% know it's me. Let's just say there's no way he can 100% know it's me. So maybe, and plus, I am slightly physically stouter than you. So hacking through the roof, you engage with him and tell him that not today. You've had a lot of mead. Maybe come back tomorrow. I'll hack the roof while you placate him just for a little bit of time.
I think that I will I say, do you have a knife?
Oh, everybody has a knife.
Yeah. I say, all right. And I think this is a point at which I have to use power.
Oh, went the crowd. So what do you have in mind, Cunobacha?
I want to befuddle the Lord with my curse. I essentially want to throw him off. Distraction or confusion. That is what I wish to attempt to do.
Okay, because you took the move curse as which gives you a number of additional effects to your use power. Okay, so the way that use power works, the way that every soul move works, is that you will roll plus soul minus the current debt you owe your gods, which is currently 1. Yeah.
Yep.
And after the roll, you will then make a sacrifice. Either you will increase the debt, or you'll make a blood sacrifice and mark one of the condition boxes. Condition works from top left to bottom right. Yeah. So in your case, you would mark one of the wound boxes. Not just normally you could get away with wearied, but you have to draw blood.
Yeah. That's why I've drawn my knife. And I am going to attempt to do this. We will see what happens.
So mechanically, the power effect is because there's summon a creature, spirit, or curse.
Yeah.
So is that the power effect? Is curse?
Curse, and because Cunobacha has chosen the move curse, that adds some specific. Oh, it has no effect on the possibility of success. It just adds a range of possibilities. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to submit 2 new dice onto the table. That is an 8.
So on 7 to 9, the effect will happen. So you can tell me what that is in a minute on 7 plus. On 7 to 9, the GM says what goes wrong. Well, if you tell me what the effect is, that will help me tell you what goes wrong.
Then I think it is that my magics are, I picture the spirits around me almost like dogs, like the black hound of the woods, and the ones that walk along, the padfoots and that sort of thing. And I imagine that for him, it's that he hears the baying of the hounds somewhere off in the distance that is a little bit haunting and confusing to him. And that is what I call up. And I imagine that we almost like see the elongated shapes of these spirits around me as I make that call and cut myself.
I will just tell you one other thing before you carry that through, because there is one other rule I want to highlight to you.
Please.
If you invoke your reputation, so if you are doing something a pagan mystic ought to do, you can invoke your reputation. You can improve the outcome by 1 step by sacrificing another debt to your god.
By sacrificing another net? No, I can't afford that quite yet. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. Session 1 on what is fairly dramatic. But I go with the 7 to 9 and attempt to confuse him.
I think that the thing that goes wrong is I think he sees it, but his men don't. Yeah, so it's a very personal effect, and you can see him listening, and I think that from the audience's point of view, we will see some of these shadow dogs just moving between the buildings behind him, and he looks this way and there's nothing there, and he looks that way and there's nothing there. So yes, he is distracted, buying time for your outlaw friend to try and break through the thatch using face danger, I think with brute force and savagery.
Yes.
Go for it.
Back to the curse, would
Yeah.
the mechanical side of the curse be the bottom one? Sort of trips and gets confused, giving you advantage.
Well, I'm reading so far, notice is something that distracts them for a moment, or do you want to make it more than that, Cunobacha?
I do want him to be more confused than just distracted. Like I'd like his mind to be muddied, perhaps a touch of fear. This is not what he expected.
So this is trips or gets confused, giving you or another PC advantage.
I think so.
Yeah, fine. So that means that you can indeed roll with advantage, Russell, if Cunobacha is happy for you to make use
Please
of that
do.
advantage.
Get
So
us
you
out
are
of here.
Cunobacha, I was more than happy to leave it for the run, but
either roll 3 dice or roll 2 and then re-roll the lowest.
I'll roll 3. So this is the right-hand side of Cunobacha's dice and the 2 blue.
Okay.
And so I've got a 4 and a 3 on the dice for the people watching that can't see it. And with Savage, that's another 2. Give me 9.
9. So the cost is that he won't notice this, but his men will. So you can break through, but you're not going to be far ahead of them, if that's what you want. Or you might judge that this is an appropriately outlaw-y thing to do and invoke your reputation.
I think this is running away is quite an outlaw-y thing to do from greater forces. So, in a quite a Errol Flynn sort of manner. So, yeah, I think this is quite outlaw-y.
Okay, so we see you breaking through. You owe your god a debt to improve the outcome from 7 to 9 to 10, which means that there is no cost, no difficult choice. And as Godric is shaking his head and saying to his men, "Did you not see that? Did you not hear them?" And there's clearly some confusion. I think that is the point when Icenius comes round the corner of the cottage next to the barn and sees them. And that's the point at which the pair of you are making your way up through the thatch onto the roof of the barn. Icenius, you can see that Godric is there, and he shouts up to the barn again, "I just want to talk. I have an offer to make." What do you do, Icenius?
Do I notice Russell and Cunobacha on the roof?
This sounds like look about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you are looking about you to take in the scene.
Yes.
Which is roll plus sense, I think.
So that is a 6 and a 5. So that is, with my sense, that is a 12.
So I can't complain with that, can I? So on a 12 plus, what does the move say? I can't remember. So you'll get to ask me 2 questions about the scene, or agree with the GM a detail to add to the scene that enriches the fiction, or ask me to do so. On a 12 plus, roll with advantage the next time you act on the answers you received. So what your first question, I think, is, do you see them on the roof?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there another question you want to ask me about the situation or the people in it? Or create a detail?
I'm imagining that there may be a route of escape that I can assist with, but I'm not entirely certain what that looks like.
Okay, I think that you can see that if they go sideways, they're going to be spotted crossing to the next roof. So they need to go away from Godric. So they're going to be headed in that direction, not that way or that way. Because common sense says go that way.
Yeah. So I think what I want to do is pick up a small stone from the ground and try and... I think I'll try and hit Russel
So no
with the
PvP
stone.
game. No PvP. No PvP.
Because although I'm trying to help it,
Well, look,
the thought of...
I think you're moving into different territory here now. You've asked me the question and you've got the answer. It would be separately a question of can you attract their attention without attracting Godric's attention. But
yes, I'm looking to roll for that eventually.
Okay, but I think before we get that far, I think it is fairly obvious, as it was to you, to our outlaw and our mystic, that if they go to that cottage roof or that cottage roof, they will be seen jumping the gap. And therefore the logic is to go away from Godric and the front of the barn. Yeah. So I don't know if that will affect your need to attract their attention, because they appear to be doing the sensible thing.
Okay. In that case, I'm not going to attract their attention.
What I can give you as an outcome for that question is that would allow you to locate yourself where they might end up.
Which is what
Does
I
that seem
think
fair?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So I think probably is Cunobacha leading or is Russel leading?
I'm more than happy to allow, gentlemen first and all that. So, I think I'm quite protective of Cunobacha. Not that I think Cunobacha needs protecting, really, because he's clearly got some innate ability in him. But I'm more than happy if Cunobacha goes first. After you, sir.
And I will clamber down and try to steal out into the night.
Well, if it was night, that would be great, but it's still pretty late in the afternoon. We're not even at dusk yet because events have moved rather swiftly. But I think all I need from you, unless you have something else in mind, is a face danger just to get off safely.
That seems fair.
And I think this, because there's that protection going on, I think this will apply to the pair of you. But I think it's Cunobacha who's going to make the roll.
And what stat would I roll with?
Well, you make the case, really. I mean, I think that if you were rolling with sense, it would be because you found the best way down. Finding the best way down would be sense. Savage might be just throwing yourself off the back of the barn and trusting to luck. Steel might be carefully making your way down.
I think that right now it is actually going to be Steel, trying to keep myself from being injured, keep us from being injured, and get down safely. It's best if we're at least in fighting shape if things go terribly wrong, as they will.
And because it's you, I might well say, if you rolled with soul, that would be just trusting to the power of the old gods to not let you break a leg.
Well, I'd be fine with that.
Let's see if the old gods
already
come
called
through.
on them for the blood there.
But the nice thing about this is it doesn't cost you anything.
Yes. So 2 new dice, adding 2 to this. That is an 8.
Wow, righto. So on an 8, I think it is going to cost one of you, and I'm just going to re-roll the left hand, odd Cunobacha, even Russel. I'll just see which one of you is going to...
Could I take that, but I would like to counter it.
Fine.
So let's let Cunobacha get away for free, but I would like to counter whatever the minus is by invoking my boundless vitality.
Oh, right.
Ooh.
Oh, right. Getting stuck into your god. Okay.
Even though, yeah.
So when you ask your gods to empower your body past its normal limits to achieve something the GM agrees, which I think is to leap to the ground and land in a 3-point superhero and actually catch...
I don't mind a bit of roof to roof, to be honest. If he gets down, I will leap from roof to roof.
Oh, well, no, hang on. I'm confused now. Are you trying to protect Cunobacha from the slight potential damage? Because I think the choice Cunobacha has...
Let's do that.
If you
we'll do that. So I'll use boundless vitality to sort of
grab him.
Catch him.
Okay. Okay. And that'll just do away with it. Let's see how you go then. So roll your plus soul minus the debt.
I have 1 debt to my god.
Which counters the 1 soul, so it's a straight roll. What could go wrong? To quote someone I know.
Just rolled off something big there. But it's still an 8.
Okay, so on a 7 to 9, you must choose to either take 1 harm or accept disadvantage for the rest of the scene.
I will take 1 harm.
Fine, which is the one that Cunobacha would have taken. So there is a wonderful narrative balance in all of this. And I think that is probably the point when Icenius comes around the corner of the cottage just along the way. What do you do?
If I could find my unmute
you are muted.
button.
Did you know he was here, Icenius?
That's what I'm coming to warn you about. Looks like I
Always late, my
looks like I was
Frankish
perhaps a
chum.
little
Always late. Still, better late than never. I think it's time to leave this village and head to the next one.
But, except that Icenius is going to go back for his horse, which is in that barn.
Ah, but surely you trained it so you could whistle it and it would come, Icenius?
At some point, you might be able to choose a move from the Monster Hunter playbook, which is that you do get a beast that has some level of control over, but not yet.
By the way, we're having this conversation as we're moving, just to be absolutely clear.
Yes, I guessed that you were doing this while you were moving, but I am curious in which direction you're moving. But what the camera will see is just you weaving between the backs of these cottages. We'll work out which way you're heading when you arrive there and decide. So,
see, Icenius is trying to work out here how the hell he is going to get his horse back, because he doesn't see anything obvious.
You, Icenius, haven't done anything wrong. Well, neither is Cunobacha, but hey.
Well, I may have let you in to murder some people, and they may remember that.
I'm sure he didn't like his wife anyway.
I think that I am going to do what very much doesn't come naturally to me, and swallow my pride and attempt some misdirection of
Godric.
I always go for Gottfried, but Godric. I attempt some misdirection of Godric and his men.
And where is the plan to meet up then?
I think how familiar are we all with the area around here?
I mean, I dare say that you passed a copse of woodland a mile away that would act as on a little low hill that will act as a point of reference, if that's all you want.
By far more.
I think that's where I suggest that we meet up and have rather unnecessarily.
I say you've committed no crime, no sin. There's no burden on you here. Wait a bit. Go get your horse and say that you are in pursuit or whatever, which is not too far from the truth. And we will meet you at the cops. We have nothing else we need to do in that village. We can move on.
I'm assuming, Icenius, you don't share with them the fact that God thinks you do have something else to do in this village. Of course, you always have the option just to not do what God said, or it only costs you a debt.
That's where I think I'm going with this. I think my choice to aid Russell has cost me the opportunity to fulfill my God's wishes at this point.
Okay, so what I'm imagining then is that Russel and Cunobacha are taking a circuitous route back to the gate out of Danum, and hoping they're going to get through that without any problem, while Icenius will give them a head start, and then simply collect his horse, or is this an immediate thing Icenius is going to do?
I think that it's a small head start, and then I run, kind of do a little bit of kind of running on the spot to get myself nice and out of breath, and then run up to either Godric or Godric's men, whoever's left by the stables at this point, and say they've been spotted, and kind of give them misdirection here. And,
okay. Well, I think I'll have you arrive at the front of the stable, out of breath, as you say, just to find Godric holding the blanket up over the kind of straw that was the simulacra of Russel, and says, "A crude ruse, where are they?" And his men are taking the stable apart, while the old man cowers in the corner. And then Godric says to the old man, "What did you see?" and goes to threaten him. That's what you see, Icenius. What do you do?
I can't let this stand. I step between Godric and the old man.
You, late again, failed again.
And you threatening innocence. Stand aside.
Now, this sounds like you are trying to face him down and convince him to step aside. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
The move says convince a mortal, or convince someone. When you give a mortal a reason to do as you ask, why should he?
I think I appeal to his honor, like you would strike an old man.
I would find where my quarry is.
Then you had best not delay.
What do you mean?
They have I have heard they've been spotted escaping over the roofs. I've come to get my horse and give chase. I suggest you do likewise.
And his attention is immediately off the old man. Don't need to roll for that. That's fine. Instead, he is heading to his men. Get horses. Which direction? He looks back at you.
And I think I point about 90 degrees off where I know that they've gone.
And is it your intention to try and get away and head in that direction to lead them off and then lose them? Or is it your intention to try to wait until they disappear and then head in the right direction?
I think it's my intention it's my intention to head in the right direction once they've gone off. I'm engaged in saddling my horse, let's say.
Properly. And I think you will see them, because the Lord has a stable for his own use and that of his retainers. And I think you will see from this stable near the gate Godric and 5 of his men galloping out and heading in the direction you sent them. And that is probably where we take our next commercial break, and we will cut to you gathered in this copse on a hill. It is 3 minutes to now. Shall we say back in our seats at 5 minutes past? Is that too long or not long enough? Okay, 5 minutes past. Let me pause the recording. We're back after our second break into our final hour. So I think that I see you camped out on this hilltop, on this low hill to the east of Danum, in the woods. It was a cold night, because I'm not sure you would have wanted to risk attracting attention. And at dawn, you will see a warband marching out of Danum. And they are heading east. I think it's fair to say they are not all heading in your direction. And as you watch them, they will head past your location, some distance away. And you can see that Godric is riding with the prefect. And you can see that a priest is walking before a box mounted on staves, being carried by 4 burly warriors. Is being carried, and there's a priest with a large wooden cross walking in front of it. What do you do? What do you make of that, Cunobacha?
Say, is that your so-called crusade?
I'm not sure, but I'm interested in what's in that box.
That box is held by one who is no longer worthy to hold it. And the situation would have been resolved if it hadn't been for your mischief last night.
Don't like what you're implying there. We were perfectly fine. While you're saying we stopped you doing any action?
You're muted.
Thank you. Cunobacha, what do you make of what you've seen?
Say, I take a little affront at what you're saying. We have a task to attend to. We have been called to Synhamm, and rather than messing with asses in armor, we should be taking care of that. That is the path that we should be doing.
And I think I'm swayed by this because to me, Cunobacha is a potential vessel of Saint Michael, and so I am like, well, do you speak truth there?
Yeah.
And I think you hear me muttering a prayer of contrition that I failed in the task appointed me.
So I'm just checking in mechanically. You are actively turning down that task now, and
yes,
and taking the debt in its place.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I already marked the.
I thought you
debt
had,
before,
but I just wanted to tempt you one last time. As this warband heads off to the southeast, which is actually the direction you need to head.
Speaking of temptation, now I look and I see that look of decision in Icenius's eyes. Now my head swivels over to where Russel is, because he's already mentioned the box, and I'm like, are you coming with us?
Yeah, I'll continue with the job at hand. That box will still be there in some period of time. We can always come and get it later.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's in my thoughts too. Kind of, we may not have seen the last of this necessarily.
Then let us head on.
Fine. So I see you. It's heading southeast. This column, which is approximately the direction that you would want to go. This is a large warband. There may be as many as 40 or 50 warriors. This is a time of small forces, and some of them are mounted. Most of them are marching, and so they are heading in more or less the same direction. So, are you going to take a more circuitous route? Or is it your intention to follow at a discrete distance and seek to avoid?
Do we know how far they need to go?
I don't think you have any idea where they're going.
Okay, well, how far are they from Synhamm?
Yeah.
Well, you were about a mile away, yeah, because that's where the hill with the copse was.
From Danum.
From Danum. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. So no, you are, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 or 7, depending on conditions, days from Synhamm.
Then I would suggest that we follow them and overtake them at night when they camp.
And we may get a better sense. I mean, are they headed to Synhamm or somewhere else? If they are headed there, then perhaps we will not be required to flex our muscles in this situation.
It seems an ill omen of the gods if they're not going in that direction. So maybe we need to get in front
different
of
opinion on omens. I would be much preferring if they were not going where we're going. But let us be off. Let's be off.
So follow at a discreet distance, which probably means that you will be moving slower than usual because the column will always take a bit more. It'll always be a bit slower. And you follow them until you see them pitching camp. And are you waiting until dusk so you can go round them? Is that the plan?
Think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
As you wait for dusk, you will notice on the other side of the valley, other fires are being lit.
Oh boy.
Does that? I'm just putting it there for you.
Well, we very quickly, in my mind, sketch out there. This is where the fires are on the other side. This space in between, this is a path we do not want to cross. If there's about to be a fight here, then I think we should perhaps increase our pace.
and get by them both.
Yes. If there's a fight, one wins, they will be looking for stragglers, and we will be counted amongst that number no matter how we appear.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to find out who the opposing force is, though.
Well, we may catch a glance of that, or we may hear news of it in town, but
let's try and capture a glimpse. Yes, let's get past them both. Open warfare is not something I'm interested in. And
so you wait for it to get a bit darker for the camp to settle down, the Danum camp to settle down. The campfires on the other side of the valley still burning. Once it's full dark, I'm seeing you heading round, avoiding the horse lines and far enough away to stop any sentries. And that's the point at which the attack hits the Danum camp. What do you do? When chaos erupts in the Danum camp, clearly those fires are a distraction. They're being attacked in the dark. Does that change any plan?
Is that relatively unusual for an attack to happen at night, or is that just uncommon?
It is unusual. This suggests that whoever's doing the attacking is not a conventional force.
I'll say I do not wish to necessarily agree with you on this, Russell, but at this point we need to figure out who they are.
Did I not say that?
And did I not say I did not wish to agree with you, but you are correct in your first assessment?
Fair one. But this could also be an opportunity to have a look in that box.
I don't. Let's see what we can figure out about who these are. If they are people aligned with darker forces, then we need to do something about them.
Fair one.
Certainly such a dishonorable attack I cannot ignore.
Okay, well, if you can't ignore it, what do you do?
What's dishonorable about using the environment?
Let us, Icenius, stay here with your horse. Maintain your position so we have a place to fall back to. And Russell and I will move closer forward and see what we can see and then fall back to where you are at. It may be that we may have to run to where you're at and have you carry us away at a high speed. Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Okay. Then, Russell, let us, you and I, make our way carefully down there.
Very well, cousin.
See.
And so as you're going to have to move quite quickly because this raid or whatever it is has erupted around the campfires of the Danum in the Danum encampment. And you will see, warriors grabbing their shields, popping helmets on, one or two struggling to mail and being struck down while they're doing that. I think that this requires someone to look about them to ask me anything more specific than that.
We're both reasonably look-abouty kind of people.
Well, which one of you is going to take the lead? It strikes me that Cunobacha is the more measured individual, despite his bad temper.
Well, except that bad temper does apply penalty.
So it does.
And so I'm a little irritated that all of this has gone on.
I'm curious, Cunobacha. No, I'll leave that one on the shelf for a moment because I am just wondering whether I want to just lead you towards your wrath. But so let's go to Russel.
What I will have set up with Icenius before we quickly sped off was a method of alerting him, whether that be a sort of whistly arrow or some kind of something that can easily draw his attention.
Flaming arrow is par for the course here, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking more of a whistle type arrow.
That's a little bit technologically advanced, to be honest.
Some kind of signal method.
Yes.
A flaming arrow.
A flaming arrow, for instance. So let's have you look about you then, Outlawy Russel.
Very well.
Roll plus sense unless you have a playbook move that trumps that.
No, I do not. All the dice seem to have disappeared, so let me generate 2 new d6.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. I rolled an 8 plus 1, that's 9.
9. And you can't be tempted to bump that up by justifying the use of your reputation as an outlaw? I'm struggling a bit.
Well, mechanically, what does 9 give me and what does 10 give me?
Okay, so 9 gives you 1 question. 10 would give you 2.
I'm happy with 1 question of who are these other lot?
Okay.
That will answer the question.
I think I can tell you that the attackers are a more varied bunch of individuals. Some of them are dressed in bits of armor. Some of them are not armored. Quite a few of them are using clubs and bows. If you were to make a guess, Russel, I think you would say that they are a very large number of outlaws.
Okay, I will go for the reputation for the second question.
Okay,
and the
then.
second question is, where is the box?
Well, hang on. First of all, so this will need you to ask a question about these outlaws because that gives your reputation leverage. It has to be something related to being an outlaw.
Well, an outlaw thieves.
Where's the box?
Where's the box?
Pay your god a debt. Now, how you're stocking up these debts at some rate, aren't you?
Well, I've got 2.
Oh no, 2. Okay. One's above 2. I can use to make hard moves against you, just so you know.
Okay.
So the second question is, where are those priests and where is their box?
Yes.
In the center of the camp, next to the largest tent, which you presume is that of the prefect. Indeed, you will see his best warriors forming up around that location.
Okay. Let's allow somebody else to do the work and kill those guys. But does this answer your question, Cunobacha, about who they are?
It
does. Clearly, he will see what I see.
Yes, he does.
If they're just outlaws, then we should fall back and make our way on.
Yeah, and of course that is the point at which the first of the skin changers turns into a wolf.
Somehow, I don't think they're outlaws anymore.
You see this, what looks like just a big bear of a man, and he's tearing off his jerkin, and you see the snout elongate, and the knees break and reform, and this half wolf, half man is laying about
Then I shout, Icenius! To call, and I stand and grab my staff, and I begin moving that way.
Is this the point at which the arrow goes up,
Yes.
saying, "Come and get us"?
Well,
Well,
yeah. Calling to our attention. I don't think we need saving.
okay.
Not yet.
So the flaming arrow arcs into the sky, Icenius. Do you head towards where it is fired from?
Yes, I head towards where it's fired from at a effectively at as close to a gallop as I can manage on the terrain. I'm kind of have shield and spear and kind of in full array.
I mean, they've picked a good place for a battle in theory. You know, there's a gentle valley between these two camps. Cunobacha, you're readying yourself and heading towards this skinchanger, where he is laying about and throwing people around. He's just laying into these.
Then if that's the point at which I call the hounds to fly forward and reach out into his mind.
With the intention of doing what?
When I seek out or look into the mind of a monster, I want to know what's going on.
Okay. Let's have you. Let's see what the hounds will tell you.
Okay.
Roll plus soul.
So that is a 7 plus 2 is a 9.
Okay, 7 to 9, hold 1. Spend holds to ask. Specifically, what are they now planning to do? What?
Yeah, I think what they're now planning to do, so I can know which way they're headed, and I can direct Icenius properly, and as we go charging forward.
Okay, I think that what you see in this bestial mind is a picture of a box with a cross in front of it.
Then as Icenius comes forward and such that my cousin can hear, I will shout, the skin changer seeks the box. That's what they're here for. It's in the tent.
Icenius will hear that, but I'm curious because I have a suspicion that given that Russel is already thinking about the box, what is Russel doing? Oh, you're muted.
Russell much prefers to fight from a distance and allow other people to do the close-in fighting. So if there's two sides, I will actually try and find a position of relative safety, as in cover.
Fine. So you're just hiding among the tents, where hopefully nobody can see you.
Yes.
But you can see the box.
Yes.
Okay. And so, Icenius, what do is I see you galloping up out of the darkness into the light. Now, some tents are aflame. The chaos of this fight going on. And I think if I heard you right, Cunobacha is saying that he's after the box.
So I think as soon as I hear this, I know that they mustn't be allowed to have the box. So I bring my horse up and wheel around and kind of aim for the tent. And I think as I'm noticing the skin changes here, I think I want to roll ancient learning to ask a question, to ask whether the Order of St. Michael, and by extension myself, knows of any weaknesses that can be used to defeat a skin changer.
Okay, well let's ask the teachings of your order what is known of skin changers. So roll 2d plus sense.
So that is an 8, I believe, a 5, a 2, and a 1 for sense.
On 7 to 9, the teachings tell you of a task to be completed in order to gain the answer you desire. And God is clearly working to a plan, because the task is to get the thing in the box. That is where your answer lies.
I think I lower my spear, and I'm aiming to charge and to kind of burst into this tent on horseback.
What, the tent beside which the prefect's tent beside which the box and its priests are located?
Are they beside the tent or in the tent?
They're beside the tent. They're in plain view, with a cross.
In that case, what I am looking to do is I am looking to do a bit of trick riding here, and kind of lean sideways in the saddle to kind of attempt to grab the box as I run past at a gallop, at the same time shouting, in the name of Saint Michael, stand aside, to the priests.
I just so you know, this box has been carried by 4 warriors. There were 4 of them with staves, and the box. So this isn't a box. Maybe I should have said chest. I'm sorry.
Okay. That changes the picture slightly.
But it might be entirely possible for you to try to snag it and drag it away.
I think that's what I try to do.
Okay. Now, it must be said that the Danum's guard, the prefect's guard, are forming up around him and therefore around the box. So you're going to have to burst through them to get to it.
I would like to assist
In what
Icenius
way?
with laying down some bow fire on these guys to either distract or remove if need be, but it'd be more of an assist rather than turn it into a D&D combat.
Now, this might be a point to just point you at the debt rules. Honor moves. Erase a debt of honor. So currently, I think I'm right in saying that Russel owes Icenius a debt of honor. When that debt is called in by the holder and you agree to their demand, one of those demands is to help or hinder a character they name as if you'd rolled a 12+ on that move. So if you wanted to call in the debt to support that help, then there'd be no dice roll involved. It'd be a straight 12.
I think for something, a challenge of this magnitude, I think I need all the help I can get, so I'm calling in that debt.
Okay, so what we're seeing, a hail of bowfire, arrows falling among the prefect's guard. Is that the case?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you can roll. Now, unless you've got something special up your sleeve, I think this sounds like face danger using brute force. Actually, no, I'm going to make it steel, because I think you're looking to snag that box more than break through, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have you roll with subtle and see. Or do you want to make this an act of God? Roll with soul.
I
think we know what Russell thinks of that.
Actually, no. I think I'm relying on my skill here. I think I'm going to roll steel.
Let's see how good that warhorse is. See if you can snag it and drag it away.
That is an 8, 5, a 2, and a 1.
I'll always offer you the chance. Is this the kind of thing a sword of God ought to be doing? And do you want to leverage your reputation?
Yes, I think I do.
Then owe your God a debt. And let's hope that it appears St. Michael is behind you. Now, again, the special effects, it's been pretty easy doing the shadowy dogs. Is there any special effect that we want the audience to see as the power of St. Michael flows through you?
I think we see that I am not in the shadow of the flames. we see the silhouettes of heavenly riders, the soldiers of God.
Oh, mounted angels.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the shadows of mounted angels flow across the side of a tent. And that turns your marginal success into a complete success. So you snag it, burst out the other side. The warriors are distracted by the arrow storm, and you have snagged this and you are dragging it away from the camp. And what I think I will give you as what you notice on the way out of the camp is Goderic saying to his men, "The box, get the box." Cunobacha, this skin changer is about to descend on the distracted warriors of the prefect. What do you do, if anything?
Intercept. I rush down, and I'm going to draw my staff up and call on the power of the gods and strike at this thing.
Okay. So is this using your move die?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And I'm furious.
So you are releasing the beast that is your wrath.
Absolutely. I'm putting myself at risk to indulge my burden.
Of course you are.
Which is this anger. So I will be rolling with a +3.
You will. 2 for soul and 1 for the power of your wrath. Do you draw its attention? Is this, or is this sneaking up on it?
Absolutely. In case I have to invoke my reputation, I am charging in, staff out, and I am speaking words that echo with thunder and the baying of hounds, like we are huntsmen after this wolf.
Fine. Now the effect is close, so you are not at risk from it yet.
Okay.
So feel free to roll to fight +3.
So that is a 12.
Oh my goodness me. Now the fight move requires a little bit of decoding. On 7+, you exchange harm as established or choose a relevant effect from the list below. On 10, you can choose another relevant effect or the first one if you chose to exchange harm. And on 12+, you get a whole load of 3 additional effects that you could call on. So this is exchange harm and 1 effect, or 2 effects.
I think I want to, and I get, so then if I chose the inflict grievous harm, is that 2 things? Or is that just 1?
No, that's just one of those bullet points. Each bullet point is 1 effect.
Okay. Well, in that case, I would like to inflict grievous harm, and as I'm going to play careful, and I'm also going to block the foe's blows.
Well, no, just to his range is less than yours. So at this moment, exchange harm costs you no risk.
Okay. Then I think I want to inflict grievous harm. And I think he's going to fall back before my fury. Okay.
Your fury drives your foe from the scene.
Yeah, he'll take 4 harm, ignore armor.
And you can see him. And what does that harm look like?
I think it's that when I strike, there is the like there are dogs that are biting at him and harassing him, like bringing a stag or a wolf down. And that blow lands, and I think that he probably sees it. Probably there's some of that image for the others, but he knows that he needs to run now, or I will bring him to ground.
And he does. And of course, when he runs, so will the rest of the outlaws that are part of this raiding party. And they see him break, and therefore they break. What are you doing, Russell, seeing all this go on? You're muted.
Would stealing the box count as my putting myself in danger to cheat or steal?
I don't think it is, unless you can get it from Icenius.
Okay.
You helped him from cover.
Okay. So now we're talking surrounding the box and probably looking slightly.
Well, the box is
bewildered.
gone. Icenius has dragged the box off.
So Godfred is at the box, is he?
Godfred was coming for the box. I think the implication here is that Godfred is not on the right side here.
I will shout to Godfred, there's a conundrum. Do you want me or do you want the box? And I will run in the opposite direction to
and I think
Icenius.
I think that is I think that's using guile if you're looking for which of your end of session moves you're hitting. And I think he is confused and loses both of you.
Excellent.
Icenius, you're dragging this box away, and in the flickering light of a burning tent, you see the man you saw at the gate of Danum lying on the ground with a spear in his gut. And that would strike me, I think, as a good place to just end this, unless you want to do anything else.
Oh, that's great.
That works for me.
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay. Right, I'd like to do a quick round of stars and wishes, please.
Sure.
Just to get a feel of what you want to happen next. If I go in character keeper order again, I think that starts with you, Paul. Any stars?
Yeah, great teamwork throughout there. While we did get a bit split up in the village, you brought it back to us, Icenius, while myself and Cunobacha did the runner at and some really just, not down the line, sort of solve some problems, and Alan, the gentle nudges towards the box continually, you were going to get us there eventually. So yeah, great as ever.
Thank you. Moving along, Lowell, any stars?
Yeah, great push-pull between all three of us as PCs. I really had a good time. It's great to play with people who are willing to kind of do the little pushback, and we're kind of at odds in little ways. And so I thought that was dynamite. I really loved Russell's play, and I loved watching Icenius wrestle with the choices there. That was so good. Just definitely PC, and great pacing, Alan, and good details, and it felt tough. Like each time you presented an obstacle, it's like, oh my, how are we getting out of this? I don't know how we're going to get through this. And so yeah, wow, I had such a good time. It was just a joy.
Oh, good. I'm pleased you enjoyed it. And what about you, Bodhi? Any stars?
So I loved how different all our characters were, and how that how everyone played off that, and yet how the debt system kind of tied it together, because you can have a problem where you have very different characters and you're like, well, these people would actually not be on the same side, but this gave a glue to it, and also just the level of drama for a first session. It was great. It was really great.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, for me, I did like Icenius's wrestling with the moral question, and there is a pattern developing where Icenius doesn't really want to do what God tells him. So we may be looking at an arc that sees Cunobacha being tempted by Christ, but I've got a horrible feeling that we've got one that sees Icenius getting a bit, I don't know. I always love in this game the way that the pagan mystic describes their power. And I think the hounds of the old gods is a cracking one, though. I really like that one, because they can do anything. They can foreshadow, they can haunt, and now we know they can take chunks out of a werewolf. The self-interested outlaw looking for a way to steal and cheat, because he knows there's an XP in it. I know you well enough, Paul, to know that those lures are very meaty, very tempting. And yet in the end, when push comes to shove, okay, he can steal it, but we'll have it. So yeah, it was great, folks. I really enjoyed that. In terms of wishes, let me go back round. Paul, is there a wish that you have for next time?
No, whatever direction it goes, I'm happy.
I do love a cheap date. What about
Thumbs me up.
Lowell? Lowell, do you have any?
I'm going to absolutely 100% agree with Paul. I love today's session. I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens.
Okay.
Very open.
Okay. And finally, Bodhi. Come on, give me
Yeah,
something
like
to hang
what?
session to.
I do have something, which is that I'd like to see, because Pavel couldn't make it this session, I'd like to see a real focus on kind of integrating his character in that's kind of like, I want to, I know you'll be aware of this, but I really want to avoid kind of like having a kind of third wheel character, given that we've already established. So like really getting that connection together is what I'd like to see.
I will be relieved to have a professional monster hunter, given that we've had to face a werewolf. I will say that 100%.
Yeah, but didn't you see it off? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Here we go. So wave bye-bye to the internet.